each other in the presidential fitness test, but others. And then we had the Obama administration. Wonderful, wonderful person. Barack Hussein Obama. Have you heard of him?
This is bound to ruffle a few feathers in the White House, as Barack Obama is not just criticizing Trump's Iran war, he's making a much sharper point that he was pressured to do this too, but said no. Translation?
Oh, that's gonna hurt!
See, Trump has spent years trying to convince people that, well, he's the strongest president, the toughest president, the one who does what Obama supposedly would never do. Obama's argument is essentially, you did what you were told, mate. What Netanyahu wanted and what the Trump of the past would have likely scolded in a lengthy post. You see, in a new interview with The New Yorker, Obama said that Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu pushed hard for US military action against Iran while he was president. He said Netanyahu tried to convince him to pursue war with Iran, then added that Netanyahu, quote, got what he wanted in more recent developments. That's the key line here, right? Netanyahu got what he wanted, but did America, at the expense of $1 billion a day, funding the wants of a country that are in a surplus while the American people suffer and rack up more debt than imaginable?
Saying $1.7 billion, he told Congress, was frozen Iranian assets. Now, there was a back channel to Tehran through Valerie Jarrett, active for 2012 to 2024. This was after he left office. So, you know, it was almost like a shadow government. He also sent pellets of cash in a plane to Iran. Now, why would you send money to Iran knowing that they are building a nuclear weapon and they are the leading sponsor of terrorism?
Barack Obama was a great statesman who left America much safer. I wouldn't put Donald Trump in the same paragraph. The reality is when President Obama left, because of the great efforts of people like Valerie Jarrett, we had 97% of the enriched uranium out. The reality is we didn't have 13 American service members dead. The reality is we never had gas go up from $2.30 to $4. The reality is we did not give China more role in the region. Let me finish, Maria. I'll let you finish.
Okay,
we didn't give China more role in the region. We did not give the IRGC a more hardline regime in there. You know why? Because Obama actually did his homework. He actually tried to engage in statesmanship. He got China, Russia, the entire European allies on board with getting Iran on a path to not having a nuclear weapon. All Trump did is listen to Netanyahu. That's his entire foreign policy. And you know what? I resent the fact that Israel is going to tell the United States what to do. The American president should call the shots in this country.
And, well, the American president should call the shots in this country, but you...
Because Obama's not just talking about the past, right? He's drawing a direct comparison between two models of presidential power. One president who was pressured into war and resisted on that front, and one president who was pressured into war and went right along with it, despite our allies warning against it, the American people being vehemently against it, and this is where we are. And the thing is, this is where the strong president argument flips, right? In Trump's mind, military action looks like strength. Hoorah, bombs, winning, escalation equals dominance. But nothing will rile him up more than the former president who lives rent-free in his head, arguing the exact opposite, that real strength is the discipline to say no to Israel's leader and his thirst for war. And Obama's record on this matters, right? Because he didn't exactly ignore the threat that Iran posed either. While he was in office, he repeatedly said that a nuclear-armed Iran would be a major threat. And in 2013, standing beside Netanyahu, he said that the US goal was to prevent Iran from acquiring a nuclear weapon. But his approach was pressure plus diplomacy, sanctions, negotiations, and international coordination. And eventually the 2015 nuclear deal happened. I mean, you can argue about that deal. Netanyahu certainly did. Republicans certainly did. But the strategic logic was to contain the threat without starting a regional war, which would result in more American troops on the ground and involved. Trump himself was quick to claim during that period that Obama wanted to start a war with Iran to boost his approval rating.
Our president will start a war with Iran because he has absolutely no ability to negotiate. He's weak and he's ineffective. So the only way he figures that he's going to get reelected, and as sure as you're sitting there, is to start a war with Iran. Now, I'm more militant and more militaristic than the president. I believe in strength. But to start a war in order to get elected, and I believe that's going to happen, would be an outrage.
And on the topic of approval, how's that going for Donald?
You were mentioning the CNN poll of polls, and of course, the poll of polls is made up of individual polls, and one of them that just came out over the weekend was the ABC News Washington Post Ipsos poll, and you can see it right here. I mean, this just tells the story, right? The lowest net approval ratings ever for the president of the United States. That is approval minus disapproval. The lowest previous record, according to the ABC News Washington Post poll, was Trump was 24 points underwater. That was all the way back in term number one. My beard at that particular point did not have any gray in it like it does today. But guess what? As my beard has turned to gray, Trump's numbers have fallen to a new record low, according to the Washington Post ABC News poll. He is now 25 points underwater on the net approval rating. That is the lowest ever that he has ever been at. And so it's not much of a surprise to me that the CNN poll of polls is reflecting that with the record high disapproval rating.
Well, honestly, what has been holding me back is I feel like the change that I was expecting from the president himself, I don't feel in my everyday life, which is concerning to me. I still feel, obviously, that, prices are very, very, very high, if you're going to the grocery store or just in general, because inflation still exists. Unfortunately, now we have the higher gas prices, which really hurt, everyday people in their pocket. And I've voted my entire life. And the frustration right now is, it's just unbelievable because, what really changes? I just feel like that we're kind of, kind of steering the ship in the same direction.
Well, the public are just not buying it at all. Pew Research found that about 6 in 10 Americans disapprove of Trump's handling of the Iran conflict, and about the same share say that the US made the wrong decision by using military force. A Washington Post ABC News Ipsos poll found 61% of Americans think that military action against Iran was a mistake, with disapproval reaching levels compared to peak Iraq and Vietnam era backlash. And Reuters Ipsos found that Trump's overall approval as a result of this and countless other issues he's underwater on dropped to 34%, with only 34% approving of the military engagement with Iran and just 22% approving of his handling of the cost of living. And that's not exactly a rally around the flag effect that he would have hoped for, right? It's more like a rally around the exit sign. And the reason is pretty obvious. Wars don't happen in a vacuum, right? They show up in gas prices, markets, household budgets. So on American soil, Reuters are reporting that the American people are feeling the brunt of this.
No relief in sight. Gas prices climbing to the highest in 4 years, and the highest since the start of the war with Iran. The national average per gallon is now $4.48, up $1.54 since the war began, an eyebrow-raising increase of more than 50%. A standard SUV that cost about $53 to fill before the war now costs more than $80. That's an additional $27 at the pump, and the average pickup trucks now cost more than $100 to fill, a $35 jump.
I am working to make ends meet and just survive.
Lisa McGee is an Uber driver outside Chicago. She says she's now paying double what she paid just a month ago for gas.
I'm working a whole extra day to make up for the gas prices. And I am also working an extra 1 to 2 hours a day.
The average in her state of Illinois, 44 cents higher than the rest of the country. Some stations in Chicago selling regular gas for around $6 a gallon. Gas prices skyrocketing in every state over the past week, the biggest jumps seen around the Great Lakes. And with the Memorial Day travel rush less than 3 weeks away, experts warning it could get worse.
We could be seeing a national average rise to $4.55 to $4.75 by the time Memorial Day rolls around, if the strait continues to be closed. If the strait remains closed, into the month of June, I think by July 4, we'll be at all-time record highs.
And the cost of diesel and jet fuel is also at record highs. In fact, Spirit Airlines cited the high cost of jet fuel when it shut down just last week. Now, experts say drivers should leave early so that they can drive slower and get more miles per gallon. Robin?
All little things will help out. You're right, Alex. Thank you.
Trump may want the war framed as national strength, but for a lot of Americans, it feels like higher prices, more instability, another foreign conflict that they were told would somehow be quick, clean, and glorious.
We'll find out. I mean, it's going to be a very specific request. I'm sure it's tied to specific things. It's not a random number, so we have to adequately fund defense. It's a dangerous time.
So you support that level?
I support what's needed to ensure that the American people remain safe. So we'll see what that number is. I haven't seen the details. We just heard the number this morning.
If there are ground troops, should they come to Congress first if there are ground troops?
Again, all the details matter. If we're completing the mission and it's a limited scope, then that's not a declaration of war.
Which is basically the foreign policy equivalent of a contractor coming in and saying, yeah, the kitchen remodel is going to take a couple of days, mate. Next thing, it's years in and it's still not finished. And this is why Obama's comments land and are bound to get under Trump's skin, right? Because he's saying that Netanyahu pushed, he resisted, Trump caved.
Want to stay plugged in? Become a subscriber to our Substack at MeidasPlus.com. You'll get daily recaps from Ron Filipkowski, ad-free episodes of our podcast, and more exclusive content only available at MeidasPlus.com.